must unlearn what you have learned.
Hello there. Come here, my little friend. Don't be afraid.
Away with your weapon. I mean you no harm.
Kill him. Kill him now. Do it.
You failed your task. I am a Jedi, like my father before me.
Hey, what's up? What's going on? It's going downtown right now with Star Wars talk. It's your boy Colton, and with me is
Oh, you want me to say my name?
no, it's Robert from TRC. But you can go ahead and say your name now.
Hi, I'm Robert from TRC.
Whoa, man, crazy! It's like someone just said it. And this is Star Wars talk, your lovely weekly, bi-weekly, monthly show of Star Wars.
All right. It can't be bi. All right.
And that's going to be this episode this week. I've been super busy with stuff and other things, and I'm using the wrong mouse. So this episode's going to be really just thrown together, rinky dink, and we're going to make the best of this situation. So how are you? How are you today, Bob?
I am good, sir. How are you?
I'm sick as a...
Did you hear about that stupid petition that's out for Lucasfilm to cut ties with EA and making their video games?
Yes, we totally didn't cover that like an hour and a half ago. Yeah, no, I didn't hear about that. Isn't that crazy, though, that, like, all because people were throwing a fit over microtransactions?
I think enough's enough. I mean, people, look, you complained about the game. You complained about what you didn't like.
They fixed what you didn't like.
They fixed what you didn't like. Like, if you ask me, like, if I go to a company, like if I go to a store, let's just say I go to Walmart, all right?
Okay.
I go to Walmart and they screw something up. You know, I I buy something, it's broken, and I go back. Now, if they go, all right, we apologize, here's a replacement, it's fixed, have a good day. Guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to go back to Walmart because they listened to me. I had a problem, they fixed the issue, I'm going to go back. Now, if EA didn't fix everything that people had a problem with, yes, I would agree. Petition, say, Lucasfilm, cut ties with them. But at this point, there's no reason to cut ties with them because they've listened to the fans, they're doing what they want.
They've made the game basically everything's handed to you.
Exactly. And again, the storyline is good. It's a very good storyline. I can't wait for the DLC to hear what they're going to do with Iden Versio and the whole storyline of her child and stuff like that. Like, what are they doing with it?
It's Rey. Duh. We all know that.
I do want to talk a little bit more about that today at some point. So,
fuck it, let's do it now.
Yeah,
I'm glad I came up with the idea.
Thanks. So I actually, a buddy of mine who won the pop figure for last month, he has yet to claim it. So, claim that
pokes
pop
with stick.
poke. But he messaged me the other night and he's like, "Hey man, crazy thing. Do you think Iden Versio could be Rey's mom? Could it be?"
Because it would fit the time frame.
It does fit the time frame. But here's the problem with that. All right.
Two wrongs don't make right.
Rey is such an important character. And whether Lucasfilm believes that the parentage of Rey is important to the narrative of the movie or not, that doesn't mean that the parentage of Rey is not important to the fans.
Mm-hmm.
It is. It's something important. You know, for the longest time, people thought she was a Skywalker, or is she a Solo, or is she a Kenobi, or is she a Snoke, or is she a Qui-Gon Jinn daughter, or granddaughter, or great-great-granddaughter, whatever. You know, there's all these ideas. Is she just, a manifestation of the Force? Whatever people are thinking, it's important to them. Right? Mm-hmm. And I'm not saying that it wouldn't be cool to see this happen in a video game. The problem is, only a portion of people who go and see these movies play the video games.
Yeah.
So, you take a look at like our buddy Brian, who's on the show from time to time.
He who shall not be named.
He plays video games occasionally, but he's not going to go out of his way to play
a game to get the story.
He's going to watch a movie and he's going to want to see and hear what everything is and know who the characters are in some form or fashion. He'll want to be able to go into the movie and they go, Rey's parents are blah, and he'll be like, oh wow, okay, yeah, I remember them from episode 2, or I remember them from here, or it's Luke, I know who Luke is.
It's Jar Jar? What?
But if they come and go, Iden Versio is your mother's name, who's Iden Versio? Like my mom, for instance, she's just a casual film goer. She enjoys Star Wars. She's seen all of them. She's had fun with them. If they go, Rey, your name is actually Cara Versio, and my mom's gonna be like, what's Versio? Like, I don't understand. Like, my mom's not gonna know. My mom is definitely somebody who's not gonna go play the video games. After the movie, when we walk out of the theater, my mom is going to sit there and go, Bob, what was this all about? I will explain it to her.
Yeah.
But it's not the same.
It's not the experience.
You shouldn't have to go search out for those answers after they answer it.
Yeah.
Is what I'm saying. So, while it's a cool concept, while people like us, that would be badass and cool and I would love it, I just think because they have to, in a way, cater to the casual fan a little bit.
Or maybe we get like a little bit of a backstory in Last Jedi.
We
mean, we got what? There's a couple more days to it. 16 days as the day of recording. Yeah. So 16 days, we'll find out. 15 for us.
15 for us. But again, I think Battlefront 2 has been excellent. Or the single player. I really haven't gotten into multiplayer because, again, I played the beta. I wasn't very impressed with it. Maybe right now I don't have it on the Xbox. Colton brought it over for his.
It's not mine. It's TRC's.
It's TRC's PlayStation 4. And I'm probably going to pick it up sometime after Christmas on the Xbox because I do want to own it because the story, I want to play through the story again. That's how much I liked it. So the more I think about it, after the first time I played, I was like, it's not really what I want to play again. But as I've been sitting here thinking about it the past week, I'm like, you know what?
It's not going to be something that,
If I wanted to pass the time, and as the hype train is rolling in now for The Last Jedi, I want to intake as much Star Wars as I can at this point, So
that's what she said.
Yeah, that's kind of where I stand. But what do you guys think? I want to hear what you guys think. Do you think it's a good idea for Iden Versio to be her mother as well as whatever the other guy's name is? For the guy's name from
he's not the important one.
Yeah, Iden was pretty much the driving force of the game. So, and plus, spoiler, he dies in the game. So,
spoiler, the Emperor kills him.
No. So yeah, check it out. It'll be interesting if you haven't played the game. Check that out. But let us know what you think because I want to know what you guys. Again, I don't want you to tell me. I think she's a Skywalker. I think she's a Solo. No, I just want to hear your opinion on the Versio aspect. Could she be Rey Versio? That's all.
Don't pull a Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah.
So I'll just dive in. Here's our first little piece of news. We have official statements from Lord and Miller on their departure from the Han Solo film.
Ooh, I actually didn't hear this. What did they say?
Lord on his Solo experience. The experience of shooting the movie was wonderful, Lord said. We had the most incredible cast and crew and collaborators. I think in terms of us leaving the project, I think everybody went in with really good intentions, and our approach to making the movie was different than theirs. Why can't I read today? That was a really big gap to bridge, and it proved to be too big. Lord managed a laugh as he added, "Sometimes people break up, and it's really sad, and it's really disappointing. But it happens, and we learned a lot from our collaborators, and we're better filmmakers for it." The audience cheered in support as Lord added, "We're really proud of the work we did on the movie, and we wish everybody the best." Miller also chimed in.
Wow.
Yeah, but wait, there's more. Miller backed his partner's statement. "We're super well adjusted, and obviously we're doing great. We're super drunk right now," he joked. As Phil said, "We had such a great relationship with the cast and crew. We were really rooting for them. After we took a much-needed vacation, we got back into it, and now we're writing and producing a sequel to the Lego movie and producing a Miles Morales animated Spider-Man."
Yeah, that's.
I probably butchered that all.
That's all right.
But that was from Vulture magazine.
Yeah, I mean, they're not going to come out and talk bad about Lucasfilm or anything. I think to them, they had a horrible experience, I think. I believe they didn't have as much freedom as they thought they were going to have. Mm-hmm. I think when they went in there, I think they had all intentions of like, okay, we got this script, awesome, But they hired us for a reason, that they want us to put our little flair that we did with, 21 Jump Street and what we did with the Lego movie and stuff like that. They want us to add that flair. So that's what they figured. They came in, started adding their flair, and Lucasfilm and Kathy Kennedy were like, hey, look, not really going the way we want it to go, so you may want to rethink this, retool it, and maybe they gave them a couple more weeks to work on it. And it still wasn't the way they liked it, so they were like, okay.
Yeah, bye.
Thanks, but no thanks. We got to get somebody else. And that's when they brought Ron Howard in. And as you can see, Ron Howard, from all accounts, has been pretty much the Rian Johnson of the solo, the standalone films, because, Rian Johnson has been just talked about so highly for how great of an employee, essentially, he was, and collaborator he was for The Last Jedi. I think they look at Ron Howard the same way. Like, Ron Howard, experienced filmmaker, came in and was like, Ron Howard has pride. Ron Howard has his own vision, but he's also such an experienced film director that he probably came in and Lucasfilm was like, look, this is what we want. Can you do it? And he was like, look, I'll do it. Like, I can put away my pride and do what you want. I'm directing a freaking Star Wars film. Why not? And I think that's kind of how it happened, and I think when all is said and done, I know you and I both aren't overly excited for this movie, but I think when we see it, I think we're going to be pleasantly surprised. Like, I am slightly, okay, I'm starting to build a little more interest for the movie as time moves on, especially because all of this stuff has fallen away. So now that this comes back up, I'm kind of like, why? Like, I was starting to forget about all the turmoil and all the crap. I've started to accept Alden Ehrenreich as Han Solo. Like, I'm finally getting into that space because I think there's so much Star Wars hype around The Last Jedi. Whoa.
Punches Mike.
But there's so much hype with The Last Jedi right now that it's exciting me for Solo as well. Not as much as any other movie that we've had. But again, I think that when all is said and done, it was Lord and Miller that caused their departure. Like, they couldn't adjust and do what Lucasfilm wanted. Yeah. They've had so much freedom on their movies that they've made in the past that they just couldn't take the constraints that Lucasfilm wanted. That's what happened. Like I said, they're not going to talk bad. That would just be bad PR for them, because then what company's going to hire them if something
if you're going to, and they're going to badmouth you.
Exactly. So, I mean, that's the way I look at it. I think it's whatever they talked. I don't think they should have. I think that Disney and Lucasfilm should have been like, look, we don't want you talking about it until after it comes out. Yeah. And then you can talk about it. Don't badmouth us, but you can talk about your time there. This is just a bad move, just because I think at this point in time with what's going on with this movie, no news is good news. Until we see footage, until we see a trailer, no news is good news. That's the way it works.
And they've been really good with the no news thing.
And Ron Howard, what he was doing, while I thought it was smart and brilliant and showing the things on Twitter and the little sneak peeks and stuff, all that did was remind people of the turmoil that was going on. Well, yes, the whole idea behind him doing that Twitter stuff was to say, look, everything's on track. We're doing well.
I'm cleaning up a mess.
I think it did the opposite effect. I think it just kept reminding people that there was a mess. And I love Ron Howard. I think, I love some of his movies, but the way I look at it is that may have been just a bad call on that part.
Yeah.
Nothing crazy bad. It doesn't hurt the movie. It just hurts the perception of everything so far. So since they announced that it's called Solo, a Star Wars story, we haven't heard
it's
much
been
of anything.
Dark.
And I think that's the way it needs to stay until we see a trailer and then stay dark again. And then see another trailer, stay dark again.
Yeah, and then you start getting in the swing of things.
So that's kind of the way I look at it. I could be wrong. Maybe, I don't know. There might be people out there who just can't wait. Oh, sorry.
Watch your profanity.
There's people that probably cannot wait for this movie. Not at all. I think people are yes, absolutely. That's what I'm trying to say. They're excited for it, I'm sure. But from my standpoint, I think the less that we get from the movie, the less it reminds us of the turmoil it was in. Now, that first trailer could come out, and we could all be blown away, and we could say, well, give us more. Yeah. But as of right now, especially, just
sweep it under the rug.
Nothing until the trailer. Nothing until the trailer. Look at it.
So, you spoiled a little bit of something new, of some news. Sorry, I am, deathly sick. Some news that you had about a certain character not coming back in The Last Jedi.
Yeah, I mentioned this on this week's TRC that we would talk about it today. So, It's been speculated for some time that we would get a returning character from the original trilogy, or we would get a character from the original trilogy returning in some point in the sequel trilogy. He wasn't in the Force Awakens, and it kind of upset me a little bit. I was like, yes, the big three, Han Solo, Leia, and Luke, those are the big ones.
Yeah, those are the ones you expect.
But there was, a fourth human character, because I know Chewbacca and C-3PO and R2-D2, they're big characters as well.
Yeah.
But there was a fourth human character that was introduced in Empire Strikes Back that I think is just as important at the end of Return of the Jedi as the other three human characters. And that's Lando Calrissian. So a lot of people were speculating, are we going to get him? He wasn't in The Force Awakens, so are they going to kind of do what they did with the first trilogy and introduce him in the second movie? Well, we've gotten confirmation that he will not be in The Last Jedi.
It's kind of sad.
Now, Ryan Johnson was talking, and I don't remember what outlet this was at, but he goes, no, I don't want fans to get their hopes up. He's not in the film, and it was never really something that came up. I mean, I love the character. It would have been fun to see him, but it's just not something that ever really had a place in the story. So it's not like Billy D. Williams, this story goes on. It's not like he has bad terms with Lucasfilm, because, like a person like David Prowse, who was the stand-in for Darth Vader in the original trilogy, he had a bad relationship with George Lucas, and from that point on, after the Return of the Jedi, he was never asked to come back to do anything, not any conventions or anything from Lucasfilm or George Lucas, because of the turmoil that was, in David Prowse's words, made up by George Lucas. Now, obviously, there's two sides to every story, but if you listen to David Prowse, he's like, look, I was accused of something I never did, and George Lucas never forgave me for something I never did.
Yeah.
But that's that story, but he was never allowed to come back. So people then started speculating at one point in time, is there something going on with Billy D. Williams? No, there's not. I mean, he's been to Star Wars Celebration.
Yeah,
he had an excellent panel this past Celebration back in April. It was one of my favorite panels from Star Wars Celebration. So, he doesn't have any bad blood. He was the voice of Lando on Rebels.
Yeah, it's just...
On Rebels. So
there was no need to cram in an extra character.
And this goes on. Billy respects the studio and all involved in the decision, but would be happy to be in any future Star Wars film they've asked.
Yeah,
who wouldn't? I mean, he loved the franchise. He lived the character of Lando for so long. Like, he is Lando, and
yeah,
he actually sat down with Donald Glover after Donald Glover was hired and cast to be Lando in the Han Solo film. He sat down with him to, like, look,
this is Lando.
Like, this is important, to me. Like,
don't screw this up.
So, I think that's kind of the way it goes. So, I'm a little upset because I would love to see Lando. I love Billy. Like, he's a great guy. He's funny. And he brought a lot to the story when he came in the original trilogy. I just want them to explain where he's at. Like, we don't have any idea where he's at.
He's at Cloud City, gambling planes and stuff.
That's just, that's kind of my thing. Like, even if it's a throwaway line that we get at some point of where he's at.
I think it would have fit best in The Force Awakens, though, from Han.
Yeah.
But if we see it, we see it. We might see it in Episode 9.
Maybe.
You never know.
Yeah, I just, again, there's a lot of rumor and speculation that we're going to see some kind of ceremony for Han Solo. Why wouldn't his best friend be there?
Exactly.
That's the only thing that kind of upsets me a little bit. But then again, that's all rumor and speculation. There may not be anything for Han Solo.
Yeah.
We've never... the only funeral that we ever really had... We had two funerals in Star Wars. It was in the prequels. We had
Padme.
Jin's and Padme's. And that's about it. Like, will we get a Han Solo one? I don't know. And they're, when they're trying to step away from the prequels as much as possible, they may try and get away from that.
Yeah.
Who knows?
If done right, I wouldn't mind seeing a Han Solo funeral.
No, I wouldn't either. I just...
Like a nice, touching tribute to a character that we've grown up with since...
for me, since 95. But, for most people, since 77.
Yeah, it's been a long time. Yeah. So, like I said, this episode's going to be all over the place. I've been busy and sick. I don't have time. Haven't had time this week. Have you been able to see... Verizon and Nissan kind of did their own promos for The Last Jedi. Nissan's was really... I just watched it. It was really nice.
Nissan's... I haven't gotten a chance to watch. I actually wanted to this weekend.
I have it up right now.
This weekend I've been kind of busy. But
It's a nice 30-second clip.
Yeah.
I'll probably...
I mean, we can hook up real quick if you want. I don't care.
Yeah, I'll just add it in later. But...
Okay, yeah. So, I mean, I am watching it right now, so... but what's really cool about this is... I was listening... Oh, okay, I did see this one. I was listening to Rebel Force Radio this past weekend, which is really my go-to source besides our podcast when it comes to talking Star Wars. And I love their show. I think their show is a little more
put together,
structured than ours is, but that's kind of why I like ours. I think ours is a little fun. We're just a couple fans, like Jimmy Mack and everybody at Rebel Force Radio. They kind of are. They're on the inside with some people. Like they can get Sam Witwer on their show. They can talk to Dave Filoni. They have the ins to get these people and interview them.
We're just fans
that love talking Star Wars. But what's great about that episode this past week, getting to it, is they talked to the guy from Nissan who was part of putting together these promos. And until the day of recording, the 27th, you had the chance to go to Nissan.com and you could create your own Nissan Last Jedi version of a car. And
that would be cool.
You submit,
Sorry.
And they're voting on who would win. So whoever wins this, whoever creates the best one, it gets voted on and they win. That person who wins gets that car. And then gets to go with himself and 3 friends to the Hollywood premiere of The Last Jedi. So, and Nissan has done this the past 2 years, or 3 years, or whatever. They did it for The Force Awakens, they did it for Rogue One. They're doing this thing it's just a good partnership with Lucasfilm and Nissan. I really like it. It worked really well last year with Rogue One because they have a car named the Rogue, and it really worked out that way.
You can play your words all... You can play all kinds of words on that.
So, but from what I understand, I think there's a total of 5 different commercials that are coming out over the next couple weeks, and 2 of them have been released so far. So we got 3 more from, if I'm correct, from listening to that podcast this past weekend. So check them out. And again, I just promoted for Rebel Force Radio. If you've never checked them out, listen to them. They've been doing it for 10 years. That's why they're so big. They've literally been doing Star Wars podcasting for 10 years. So check it out. And Colton, your mouth dropped.
Chewbacca, I hate. Sorry, I hate Chewbacca.
Oh, you saw. Okay.
Yeah.
So you saw the TV spot. So I guess we're moving on. The TV spot where Chewbacca hits the Porg.
Yeah, Porg.
He pushes him out of the way.
It doesn't matter. He hit a Porg. I did like the shot of Phasma though.
Yeah.
That was a nice shot of Phasma.
Yeah. My mom the other day, my family was over this weekend, and my kids actually jumped on a podcast with us for our other show, TRC. And my mom, I was telling her, and she sees our little Porg stuffed animal sitting on our desks here, and she's like, "What is that?" I'm like, "What?" She's like, that furry thing. And I'm like, "It's a Porg." She's like, what's a Porg?" I was like, "Come on, I told you, it's from Star Wars The Last Jedi." And she's like, "Oh." So I showed her that specific
and you woke her mind.
And I was like, "Look, that's a Porg." She's like, "Oh, geez, Chewie just hit it." I was like, "Yeah, I know."
And it's just like... So, you had another piece of information, didn't you?
Yeah, I mean, Rian Johnson had a lot to say this past week. So, obviously, there's the big news that came out about his new trilogy. What's going on with this trilogy? Blah, 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 all that kind of stuff. So they asked him, what's up with your trilogy? He goes, "We're going to have to see." No, he goes, "I'm just in the very beginning of starting to come up with what the new trilogy is going to be. But I can tell you this. What makes me so excited about it is the idea of doing a new story on the big canvas of 3 movies in this world. There's just so much potential, and I can't wait to jump in." Look, I said it last week. I mean, this is not going to be something that we've ever seen before. It's not going to be the Old Republic. Even though people want it to be, it's not. This is going to be completely different than we've ever experienced or seen before. And that's why I because of all the mysticism and the Jedi lore and history that he's doing in The Last Jedi, I really believe we're going to see the beginnings of the Jedi. I think that's what we're going to see. We've never had that in canon. With what we're doing, we've never had that explored. Even in Legends, there's not... It's
faintly explored.
Yes, it's not touched on very much. And I'm telling you, this is going to be something that's really cool. I hope that's the way they go. Am I going to be disappointed if we don't go that way? No, because if they hire Rian Johnson already to do a new trilogy before The Last Jedi is even shown, it's got to be a damn good movie. And if that's the case, then I'm excited for this trilogy. Now, if I come out of this movie and it sucks, and I'm going to be like, well,
just...
it's got the Star Wars name, so I'll still watch it. But
yeah, I'll see it 3 times instead of 4.
So, yeah, that's kind of the way I look at it. So I'm excited. Rian Johnson, he's going to be very tight-lipped on that whole thing, especially right now because he's got 3 weeks of building up The Last Jedi.
Yeah.
And that's the only thing that I think Lucasfilm has done wrong thus far is the fact that they announced this already. I understand why they did it, because it was to help build hype for The Last Jedi. Because exactly what I just said, if they like it that much and they get this, it's got to be a good movie. However, now when he starts going on the media circuit, when he's on late night shows and everything like that, or not even him, if Kathy Kennedy's there, or even some of the actors, they're going to be there, and that's going to be a question that gets asked. So, Rian Johnson, your director, he's making a new trilogy. Are you going to be part of it? Like that's what's going to happen, and it's going to be distracting a little bit, and that's just unfortunate. So, but again, I'm excited about it. So,
now I'm gonna ask you a question here because I just thought of it as I moved away from the mic. Now I kind of hit you with some blindside question, like one question every episode. What would have happened if Luke fell to the dark side in episode 6?
Did we say this before? Did we ever say this one? No, we didn't say this one.
I don't think we've talked about it on the air. I think I may have threw the question at you once or twice.
I think we talked about if Luke joined Vader. That's
Yes.
what we talked about. That was our big thing the one time. If he joined Vader in Empire.
I'm talking at the end of episode 6. Vader's dead. Emperor's dead. Luke just is like, I'm done. Dark side it is.
I mean,
For whatever reason, it's going to be better written than that. But
yeah, I mean, what happens? Stuff. I mean,
do you think it would force
Again,
Force Ghost Yoda and Obi-Wan to train Leia?
yeah. I mean, I think a lot of it is the same that I said with the past, podcast or whatever podcast it was where we talked about if Luke joined Vader in Empire. I think this is kind of the same thing. I think they would have Leia learn the Force. But here's the thing that's tough, because by that time in his, it makes sense in Empire for him to be pulled to the dark.
Yeah.
At this point, it would be hard writing in Return of the Jedi, especially once his father's dead and Palpatine's dead. Who's pulling him to the dark side?
Yeah.
Why does he have to move to the dark side? There's really no reason for it. So, I mean, the way I look at it, that would be a complete shift with the character. It wouldn't make much sense because his closest connection to the light side at that point is Leia, his sister. And if he were to turn dark at that time, I think that Obi-Wan and Yoda would know, okay, yeah, we got to use his sister to bring him back to the light, and that's what they would have to do, because that's all he has at that point. Obviously, if you were a fan of Legends, further on, down the line, you have different characters that, keep him, closer to the light than to the dark. But again, in the canon, I mean, all we know so far up to that point is Leia. What happened after Return of the Jedi? We know because of Battlefront that he goes on a mission. He's starting to find old Jedi, relics. Thank you, and stuff. And that's what he's doing. But what else is he doing? In Battlefront, we see one mission where he goes and finds a compass. That compass, a lot of people think, are what's the first part to him finding the first Jedi Temple. But why does it take him until 5, 6, 7 years prior to The Force Awakens to go find that first Jedi Temple? Or has he been there before? And then he goes back and forth. But then that Han Solo line in the movie where he goes, some believe that he went to find the first Jedi, temple, or whatever he said in that line.
Yeah.
So that wouldn't make sense then, because if he's been back and forth, they wouldn't say a line like that. So there's a lot of questions still about Luke Skywalker that is tough, because when you bring up a question like that when it comes to Empire, you have a whole nother movie that you can say, okay, well, this is what would happen in this next movie. And you can adjust things and say, this is, instead of this happening, this would happen, that would happen. But, with the knowledge of Return of the Jedi ending and only knowing very little of what Luke has done since then, And with that, we know very little of what Leia's done. I mean, we get more about Leia and Han. We know Han went and tried to help rescue the Wookiees on Kashyyyk, and did he succeed or not? I don't know. Read Aftermath.
Stop. I'm trying.
And then you have, Leia, who, is with Mon Mothma trying to build the new galactic, or not the new galactic, the new Republic.
Yeah.
And so she's helping her do that, and then you have where everybody finds out that her father was actually Vader, and then that puts a whole wrench in things, and she's pregnant, and it's just like, so we know a little bit of what's going on with Leia, but Luke, I mean, with those three characters, because that's what keeps Luke so close, and it would have to be the use of Leia and Han and Chewie and stuff like that to bring him out of the dark, and without knowing where they go in the story exactly, it would be hard to determine if they would succeed or not.
Long-winded Colton screw off answer.
No, I mean, again, it's interesting. Unfortunately, not to sound like a butthead here, but I mean, you basically asked the same question again, that we talked about a few weeks or a couple months ago. So.
What was that crossover people were talking about? Marvel and Star Wars, was that the crossover?
There's talk.
Please don't let that happen, Hollywood.
People think,
I don't know what brought that to my mind.
There's people that think because Disney owns Marvel and Lucasfilm that
we need a crossover.
There's going to be a crossover. What people need to realize is, yes, Disney sits at the top of the pyramid, and then you have Marvel on one side, you have Lucasfilm on another, you have Pixar there, you have this, you have that. So you have it's not even a pyramid, it's just kind of a bracket, like you have all these companies that Disney oversees, and just because they oversee and own these companies doesn't mean that they're like, we're going to combine them. Like, it doesn't make sense, because Lucasfilm is a separate entity from Marvel. Marvel's a separate entity from Pixar, and so on and so forth. There's no reason to connect.
Yeah, please don't.
There's no reason. Okay, maybe they do a crossover comic. That's fine. If it's not canon,
who cares?
Yeah, it'll be fun. They did that with DC and Marvel back in the 90s. They crossed over the characters. It was just a cool what-if scenario. It's not canon in the New 52 or in the Rebirth series. It's not canon in the current Marvel runs. It's just a cool little thing.
Or, like, throw a couple Easter eggs. Like, oh, hey, there's a Millennium Falcon statue in the background there.
Yeah, exactly.
Or, hey.
They've done it in the Marvel, movies. Like, Spider-Man Homecoming. There's a scene where Peter Parker's friend is holding a Lego Death Star.
Yeah, that's fine. That's all the crossover you need.
Exactly.
Like, I don't know how you would cross over Marvel to Star Wars.
You can't.
Yeah, that's too hard. But you can give little Easter eggs, but nothing major.
Yeah.
So have you seen Top release like certain cards with the characters from The Last Jedi?
This the past couple years with everything, and I've seen them. I saw the Canto Bight Police. I saw
the casino goer.
The casino goers.
I can't remember exactly what the card's named, but that's what it is.
I think it was on Rebel Force Radio again. They were like, yeah, I saw them. There's one that looks like Professor McGonagall from Harry Potter's in the background at the Canto Bight. And I saw it and I was like, yeah, that looks like...
You're not wrong.
Yeah, you're not wrong. There's your crossover, Harry Potter and Star Wars. But I just thought it was kind of funny. No, I saw them. They're fun. Again, we're at that stage now where the hype is just building and building and building. Companies are now allowed to release their things that they're putting out for the movie.
15 days for us, 16 for everybody else.
Yeah,
well, not everybody. If you got pre...
And honestly, there's going to be some people who see it a few days early after the premiere.
We need to get in line for those.
But again, I just, we're going to keep getting more and more. We really are. I mean, it's just the way it works in Hollywood and such.
Well,
stop dying.
I'm sorry, man. I'm trying. You have anything else? I know it's kind of a short episode.
Yeah.
Not really too much happened this week.
Let me take a look real quick here. I'm actually pulling some stuff up and see what I can find.
Looking real sweet, quick like. So, I'll take this time now to plug the giveaway. We are insert giveaway here. We are giving away a Leia on a Speeder GameStop exclusive Funko Pop figure. In order to be entered in, it started the 24th and it's running to the Monday before The Last Jedi.
Yeah, so we got about 2.5 more weeks.
Yeah. All you have to do is either subscribe to us on YouTube, join the group on Facebook, like the page on Facebook, subscribe and rate us on iTunes. Is it subscribe or follow on Podbean? I think it's follow us on Podbean. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram.
Okay. So
and that's how you enter to win it.
Make sure you message us, or if you join the Facebook group, like, hey, I followed because I heard your podcast. That way it just makes it easier for us to see who actually, did follow and subscribe and join and everything like that. Because, I just make it easier for us. That way we can definitely get you entered in, because we want somebody to win. We don't want to miss somebody. So if you can just do that, that'd definitely be a big help. Thank you for that. I can't believe you're not mentioning this. This is actually a pretty crazy thing that happened. There was an Argentinian Redditor who actually got to see, I believe, 10 minutes of The Last Jedi. And there was
now the FBI is going after him.
No. This is actually something real. This was actually done by Lucasfilm. They showed some people 10 minutes of the footage and everything like that. This is it. Now, it does have some spoilers. I apologize. If you don't want the spoilers, I'd say, maybe skip 5 minutes, because it's probably what we're going to talk about.
Yeah.
So the woman says it shows. Now, this was in Spanish, so this was interpreted by somebody. So it's not perfect English. It was translated, but not perfectly. So it shows a space battle, and mostly centered around Poe and BB-8, and how Poe is trying to destroy a gun inside of a big ship. She also says that Hux appeared in the scene, and that there's a humorous bit with him, which she claims felt like a Marvel movie, although she didn't describe the moment or specify why, and still said the humor throughout the scene was very funny. Then she mentioned that there's a new character who wasn't in the previous movie, whose life is threatened at one point in the footage shown, and that the movie immediately maybe makes you care about said character. Most likely referring to Rose.
Yeah.
She ended saying that the destruction in the scene was massive and that the special effects were great, and at the end started talking about something else, but stopped because she didn't want to spoil the rest of the scene. So there's more going on in that scene. Again, there's not much spoiler there, but just interesting. I mean,
that's real interesting.
I'm a little worried that it's a Marvel feel for the humor. That worries me a little bit. Not that I'm a big hater of the humor in Marvel films, but I think most of the time it works for Marvel films.
Yeah.
Star Wars isn't a Marvel film.
That's how I felt with Justice League.
But again, it's could there be something lost in translation?
Yeah.
And that's all. It's interesting. I think we're going to start seeing and hearing more about this kind of stuff coming up over the next couple weeks, because they're going to start showing the media soon. They're going to start showing different people this, different people that. We're going to start seeing new clips on the late night circuits and stuff like that. So
yeah,
this is
start seeing the swing of it.
You want to go in blind,
to not go on social media,
tune out completely,
go under a rock, because you're not going to be able to watch TV at all.
Yeah, pretty much. No, not at all. The new cover for Timothy Zahn's next novel, Thrawn Alliances, has been revealed, and it's really cool because it looks like Vader's going to play a big part in it, because Vader's on one side, Thrawn is on the other.
Oh, I like that. I didn't see that.
I need to read the other Thrawn book. That actually might throw that on my Christmas list. So anybody out there who listens to my podcast who, likes me at all and wants to get me a nice Christmas gift, I wouldn't mind the Thrawn book.
You have a better approval rating than I do.
Wouldn't mind getting the Thrawn book, that's all. And right now, what I'm doing is I'm going through Star Wars Newsnet, which is an excellent website when it comes to Star Wars news. They break a lot of news sometimes, and a lot of rumors that they find that are rumored elsewhere. When they post it, most of the time it's real. If not, they go back and edit. Yeah, they're really good with it. I love this site. It's one of my favorite Star Wars sites. I used to run on theforce.net. Years ago. That was my go-to site, theforce.net. But for some reason, it's fallen by the wayside. It's not as good as it used to be. So that's kind of upsetting. But Oh, did you see that little clip with Daisy Ridley building the Millennium Falcon?
Yes.
I know you love Daisy Ridley.
It's had Daisy Ridley, and that's exactly what happened.
You're like, yep, I'm watching it.
Yeah, I'm watching this for 45 minutes straight because I'm not creepy.
We saw. Did we talk about the 4 covers from Entertainment Weekly?
Yeah, we talked about them last week.
These?
Yep.
Okay. I couldn't remember. See, I kind of... Oh, yeah. Yeah, we did. Yeah, because of Mark Hamill and Carrie Fisher. Okay, this is a good topic to talk about, all right? Now, it took us a while to get here, but I want
It took us almost 40 minutes of ramp, or 20 minutes of ramp.
No.
Jesus. 2 minutes of rambling.
That's right. This is a good topic to talk about. We touched on it last week, but what do you think of Luke and Leia? Like, do you think that we have to see them together?
That's a good question. I mean, I feel like we don't work out. Yes, to answer it, but I don't think we're going to get it for as long as we need it to.
Now, I feel this.
I feel like their stories are going to pull them away.
I read something or heard something. It really made me think even more about it because, like I said, I think we did talk about this last week.
We talked about the things and we touched on it, but we didn't really talk about it.
Somebody made a good point. And again, it may have been on a podcast because I do listen to other Star Wars podcasts, so it could have been on one of these I was listening to. But Luke secluded himself for a reason. He went and hid away to brood about Kylo Ren killing him, or not killing him, possibly killing all the Jedi students that he had, destroying the Jedi Temple that he built, possibly that kind of stuff. We don't know.
We don't know all the details, but
that's kind of what it all alludes to, and he goes and is brooding about that. Now Han Solo dies, and he doesn't see Luke. Luke never sees Han Solo again. While I get, yes, he and Leia are a bit different. They're brother sister. They have a stronger bond, especially because they're connected through the Force. But think about it this way: do you think it's possible that over this time, whether it's 5, 6 years or 3 years, however long that Luke has been on this island on Ahch-To, don't you think Leia, who probably has some knowledge of the Force and ability to use the Force, has tried to reach out to Luke through the Force?
I would imagine so.
There's really, if that's the case, then why wouldn't Leia be like, okay, we don't need this map. Luke, come help us. All right? So when you think about it, Luke has hid himself away for a reason. Will he leave Ahch-To? I know a lot of people want to see a showdown between him and Snoke. Will it happen? Maybe, maybe not. But does he ever leave Ahch-To? Does Leia then go to Ahch-To? Everything that we've seen, we've only seen Luke on Ahch-To. We haven't seen him anywhere else in the movie at all. In the previews.
Except for flashbacks.
Except for the flashback, yeah. Or, again, some people think it could be a vision of the future.
Yeah.
There's so much that we don't know with everything. But, with that said, I don't know if he's going to, and I don't know if he needs to. While, yes, from a fan standpoint.
Yes, we need to.
Yes, we want to see it. But we wanted to see the three of them together again.
And then we didn't get it.
And we're never going to. Ever. So, with that said, you sit there, start thinking, is there a reason? Is there a story reason why Luke never got to see Han again? Is there a story reason why he would never get to see Leia again? If they can fit it into the story and it makes sense, I'm okay with it. But if it's one of those things that is, they kill off Luke on Ahch-To, or they kill off Leia before Luke and Rey leave Ahch-To, I'm going to say that's crappy writing because you had an opportunity to show these two together.
It was a missed opportunity. I mean, that's the way I look at it. I think we'll see them, but their stories are going to pull them away from each other. It'll be enough to be like, oh, they saw each other, and then
they hug, and then
and then they go their separate ways. Just enough to be like,
because
there it is, and
I don't know. The way I look at it, I kind of envision this happening when it comes to the Rey and Luke story, and this is probably far off and nowhere near what it's going to actually be. But what I see happening is I do believe that we're going to have Kylo Ren and the First Order show up on Ahch-To. I think that there's going to be a showdown on Ahch-To. And I just kind of talked myself into this. The reason why I say that there's going to be a fight is because there were rumors months ago or a year ago that, that I don't remember what it was, but they were talking about a fight, Chewbacca flying in a Millennium Falcon around Ahch-To, fighting TIE fighters, stuff like that. Like, I heard rumors of that. So if those are true, I feel that there's going to be some kind of battle on Ahch-To.
Which would make sense.
What scares me, though, is the scene that we see with Kylo by the fire, the flames behind him and stuff like that. He has the scar, all right? So that isn't a flashback to that other scene. He has the scar. Now, yes, I understand that was all a play. That scene where Rey is, I need someone to show me the way, and then he puts his hand out. Those are not the same scenes. Those are not the same times. They're different parts of the movie. However, I would not be surprised if that both scenes take place on Ahch-To, and the first scene is the scene where Rey is like, I need someone to show me the way. She's talking to Luke. But the scene where Kylo Ren is putting his hand out is after he defeats Luke. And Luke dies on Ahch-To. And he then takes Rey to Snoke, and then we see that. And that literally just came to me as I'm thinking, because I'm like, well, if there's that fight there and that scene actually happens, then where's Luke this whole time? Yeah. Does he run away again? But that's not Luke. Like, Luke is not somebody who runs away. We need to find out why he ran away, and then Rey's going to be the one that brings him back, and I think he's going to try and stand up to whomever, and he's going to be killed. So that's kind of scary for me. Now that I said that, I don't want Luke to die. I still say he's not dying. Like, I'm sticking to it. He's not going to die.
They're going to leave it like, is he dead?
Maybe.
And then...
But again, could that be a Force vision of the future where he's breaking out of the debris and stuff like that? So because there's fire behind Kylo in that scene. And there's fire in that scene where Luke breaks out. Could they be doing something and like, maybe the initial thought was, we'll make this a vision of the past. But maybe as Rian Johnson was writing, he was like, what would be even better? Let's make it a vision of the future.
Because Anakin had that power.
And how cool would that be? Like, that would be something different. It'd be crazy to think, like, this whole time for 2 movies. Or maybe we'll even think it's 3 movies, because maybe they won't show us anything until episode 9. We're thinking that was a forceback or a flashback. And then we find out at the beginning of episode 9, one of the first scenes you see is Luke's hand popping out of the debris. You're like, oh crap, he's back!
Yeah.
Like, that would be really cool to see and experience. Again, I could be wrong, but probably am wrong. But I think that would be cool. Another thing, on one of the Star Wars groups I'm in on Facebook, somebody brought up the idea of Luke's green lightsaber. And they want to know, will we see Luke's green lightsaber in The Last Jedi? And I feel like we're going to have to see it. We have to see it. Again, that's something for the fans, but most importantly, what does Obi-Wan say, to Anakin? This weapon is your life. Yeah. And when you're a Jedi, the weapon is your life. Like, that is your life. And I feel that we are going to see it in some form or fashion. Now, the guy that I was talking to in the Star Wars group was like, hey, because I said, yes, we're going to see it. And he goes, well, how? Luke said, or Mark Hamill said that he's not in any action scenes in the movie. Well, first off, you can't trust what Mark Hamill says. Look, I love the guy. I think he's a great actor. He's great for pulp culture. Absolutely great for pulp culture. The problem is, he loves to screw with people. Yeah. He loves feeding into things. Like, people think that Rey's a Skywalker, and he goes, during his interview at Star Wars Celebration this year, he's like, everybody knows that she's not a Skywalker, or is she? And like, he does stuff like that because he loves riling up the crowd, and getting speculation. He's
working the crowd.
So why, if he goes, Luke doesn't have any action scenes, why do people believe that? Like, it's Mark Hamill. Don't believe everything he says. I mean, he could be telling us straightforward, like, I'm not. But you can't take it for what he says. You kind of have to be like, okay, I'll keep that in the back of my mind. It might be like that, but not so much. But then what could also be a cool thing there's a lot of speculation and rumor that Kylo Ren actually has Luke Skywalker's green lightsaber, you know? And wouldn't it be cool if somebody else brought this up? Like, wouldn't it be cool if Kylo actually believed that he killed Luke when he destroyed the Jedi Temple? Like, wouldn't it be cool if, like, he's like, I killed Luke, I take his lightsaber, and I leave. All right, so he's thinking he killed him. And then all of a sudden, they find out, the First Order finds out that the Resistance is looking for a map to find Luke Skywalker. And he's like, but I killed Luke Skywalker. And they're like, no, there's a map. And they're trying to find him where he is.
Yeah, he is not dead.
And that then drives Kylo Ren like, no.
Yeah, he is.
And that's his drive to find Luke. That's his drive. We know why Snoke is looking for Luke. We know that he's trying to kill and destroy Luke. But there has to be like a nice drive for Kylo to find him. And on top of now finding Rey to seek revenge on the whole thing that happened with Rey, it'd be cool to have that in there as well. So that's a cool idea.
And an added side story.
But how cool would it be if, you know, Kylo like has his green lightsaber and he takes it with him whenever he goes to confront Luke to kill him with his own weapon? Like,
that'd be pretty cool.
Like, you know, look, I thought I killed you once before, but now...
Yeah, no.
When he pulls out his green light... Like, that would be crazy.
Yeah.
Like, you know, how cool would that be? So, again, this is all speculation. This is all talk. We're having fun here.
Bob just hyped himself up.
Oh, I get myself hyped up about Star Wars all the time. But I just think it's really cool idea. And, you know, what do you think? Are we going to see the green lightsaber?
I'd like to say we will. And if not in an action scene, maybe a training scene, maybe? You know?
Yeah.
Certain things you have to be a visual learner for.
True.
Not like, oh, hey, do this, and then you do it.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll see something like that.
Don't have any ball droids to shoot at her, yeah?
Yeah, too bad. Like, that'd be pretty cool to have that come back.
Maybe they do.
Yeah, that would be a nice little throwback. But I think I would love to, like, see what you said. That would just...
Yeah.
That would razzle my entire brain.
It'd be crazy.
I would go into a full-blown seizure in the audience. Just... just like... Sorry, headphone users. I would just not be okay. Like, I would not be okay with that. I would... repeatedly dookie in my pants, like, but I don't. I mean, I'd love it. I wouldn't even knock it. It would probably make The Last Jedi 20 times better.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much that you can think about, and then there's people that speculate. Okay, if he doesn't have his lightsaber, if he does, is he going to face off with Snoke?
You never know.
Like, does Snoke have the ability to use a lightsaber, or is he just a Force user?
Yeah.
We don't know. Like, we didn't know that Palpatine had the ability to use a lightsaber technically until Episode 3.
Yeah.
So it took, how long for us to finally see, oh, wow, he can use a lightsaber. Whoa, like, duh.
And he's pretty good.
Yeah. With
Dispatched
screaming.
Yeah, dispatched 5 Jedi in like 5 minutes.
But that's the thing, it's crazy to think about because, when you first see the Emperor, you see him in Empire Strikes Back, and... it just was a hologram. Like, that's all you saw. And even at that time, even back then, Vader was the Lord of the Sith. And the Sith was such a loosely used term. Nobody, like George Lucas didn't even have that all figured out at the time. There was I remember hearing something where people thought that Lucas actually envisioned the Sith as being a species that he was... the ruler of, and like he was the Dark Lord of the species the Sith. Like that was an idea at one time.
That would be interesting.
The fact that it then turned into the fact that he was a Sith. Then there wasn't much about the Emperor, because when it came to the Emperor in Return of the Jedi, he was known as Emperor Palpatine. They never said Darth Sidious.
Yeah, it was...
All we knew is that Vader was some sort of lackey to the Emperor, which would make sense because any emperor, any king, something like that would have protectors, knights and stuff like that to protect them. And that's kind of how when I was a kid, that's how I viewed it. I was like, well, this is like, to me, being a kid, I was like, this is like, it reminded me of like King Arthur almost, because you had the king and then you had Lancelot, and there was movies and stories made about Lancelot, and there was a lot more to Lancelot than you had for King Arthur. And you're just like, whoa, like that's and that's kind of what happened with Star Wars. It was like you have the Emperor, who's the king, who's the ruler, but we got this whole story about
everything.
Vader,
Everything else.
His knight, like that's pretty cool. Like he has this deep story. What's Palpatine's story? When I was a kid, I always thought that. So, the fact that, when episode 1 came around, I was 13 years old, and, Palpatine comes on the screen as Senator Palpatine. I'm like, whoa, look at Senator
You're
Palpatine,
like, hey.
But the thing that really got me...
The super young Emperor Palpatine.
Yeah, but the thing that really got me was the moment when Darth Sidious showed up early on in the movie, like very early on in episode 1, and, he's like, Darth Sidious. I'm like, man, that's the Emperor. Whoa, he's a Sith too,
You're like, whoa.
Yeah, like it blew my mind. And then he was like, here's my apprentice. And I was like, well, apprentice is not even a Jedi yet. He's like this big. Like, oh crap, Darth Maul. Like, being a 13-year-old experiencing that and learning.
It blew your mind.
Exactly. And you're starting to learn, like, okay, learning more pieces of who this person is. Palpatine. And,
learning the elements of storytelling.
Yeah, the elements of storytelling, exactly. And then, you learn that he, becomes, or doesn't become, but he becomes the Emperor, stuff like that. And you learn that he was the one that masterminded everything. And I always go back to this because it's really amazing. My buddy Jason, he didn't actually experience Star Wars until he was pretty old, early 20s, something like that. Because he always thought it was a nerdy, geeky thing, and he and I became friends, became roommates for a while, and I was like, dude, you need to watch Star Wars. You need to watch Star Wars. He wouldn't just listen to me. It took me and his cousin finally, like, dude, you need to watch Star Wars, for him to finally do it. And he was like, how should I watch it? I was like, dude, you have to just watch it in release order. Like, 'cause at the time, we only had 6. We didn't have 7, Rogue One, 8 and stuff like that. We didn't have... At the time, I think Clone Wars was just starting.
Which one?
The one with Ahsoka and everything. Okay. Like the computerized one.
Yeah.
And that one was just starting, So I was like, you got to watch it in release order. So, I sat there. I watched 4, 5, 6 with him, and he loved them. And he was like, I got to watch 1. So we watched 1. And then we watched 2. And then the third one I didn't get to watch with him. He watched it over at his grandparents' house or something like that. So I then talked to him after. I was like, what'd you think, man? What'd you think? He was like, I had no idea that the Emperor was the Darth Sidious. And I was like, that blew my mind. Like, that was, like, to me, such an obvious thing growing up.
Yeah.
Like, once I saw the Emperor in Return of the Jedi, then I saw Darth Sidious, I was like, it's the same person. Like,
yeah, you're like,
they dressed the same, they talked the same. Like, to me, I was just like, whoa. But what blew my mind was that he was a Sith. Like, that's what blew my mind.
You were like, knew it.
but my buddy Jason, what blew his mind was that it all came around to being that person. And this is a long way to get to this, but Snoke, like, what does he know? What does he know with the Force? Is he able to use the Force? We still don't even really know that. Like, all we know is that he wants to teach Kylo more about the Force, but you don't have to practice to teach.
Yeah.
Like,
you can just throw books and holocrons, and whatever.
Exactly. I mean, you don't. It's better to practice if you teach, but the saying goes, if you can't do it, teach. Yeah. Maybe that's what Snoke's doing. Maybe he's doing that. What I said. You have somebody at the top, and you have a knight or a protector, and that's Kylo Ren.
He's just a super good manipulator.
Exactly. So that's what I want to see, because it would make sense if he can use the Force. If we see him and Luke face off, that would be interesting. Again, if we don't see that happen, I don't see Rey being the one that defeats Snoke. I still say I see Kylo Ren ultimately defeating Snoke for some reason or another. Like I said, I believe this is all the reverse of Anakin. We're being led astray. You see the
fall and redemption.
We're being led astray that this is all Rey's story, but I think in the background, it's really Kylo Ren and Ben Skywalker, or Ben Solo. Sorry, Legends foul up there. This is Ben Solo's story.
That's still not really...
just as much as Rey's.
Yeah. So what you're saying is they're twins?
No.
I know.
But I like I said, and I'm not saying that it's a retread of, it's the opposite of the prequel.
It's the ring theory.
Yes.
So do you think it'll be Kylo Ren sacrificing himself, and that's how he's redeemed? Kind of like how Darth Vader was redeemed in 6?
It would be the best way to do that. The reason why I say that's the best thing to do to kill off Kylo Ren is because, in my eyes, he's not redeemable to continue living. Like, if he's going to redeem himself,
it has to be a great,
which then would make sense to this whole notion that we may not see a Skywalker saga after this. Yeah. Because if Rey is not a Skywalker in any way, shape, or form, if she's a Versio, if she's a Kenobi, if she's a Jinn, whatever she is,
literally all the Skywalkers are dead after this trilogy.
Yeah, after Solo's gone, there's no more Skywalkers. After Ben Solo would die. So unless he impregnates Rey, which is a theory that could happen.
Yeah.
Some people think that those two are going to fall in love and have children.
And it could be a plausible thing.
Possible, yeah, it's very possible. But I don't know. I just think that there's.
Now I'm gonna ask you a question that's really off topic here. Not really off topic, but kind of plays in. Chewbacca was in 3 through 7.
Yeah.
Minus Rogue One. Do you think if they were to make a sequel after this, Chewbacca would, or a trilogy after 9, Chewbacca would still be a part of it?
It depends on who's there, because I think at this point it's Chewie and Rey.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of who is together now. I think that we're going to see a lot of scenes with Chewie and Rey, and they're going to move forward with that. Then again, we could be wrong. Maybe Chewie's just kind of on his own now.
Yeah, Chewie's just him and his porgs.
In technicality, the Falcon is Chewie's.
Yeah.
So if the Millennium Falcon is going to stay in the saga,
then you need Chewie
there. Because I don't care what anybody says, the Falcon doesn't then fall to Leia. It doesn't fall to Rey, who is technically a nobody to Han Solo.
Yeah, it would be Chewie.
It would fall to Chewie, or then, Lando, even Lando.
Yeah, I was going to say, then that's a good way to write in Lando to, even in old age, still be in the next trilogy, or even 9 at that.
Yeah, so, that's kind of the way I look at it, and it looks like, at least in this trilogy, they're going to keep the Falcon through all 3 movies. In my opinion, they have to. Just because
it's the Falcon.
The Falcon, and I'm calling the Falcon a he because it really
it's its own being, though.
It's its own character.
It's been in 3 through.
Technically there was a Corellian freighter in Episode 3.
Yeah, so it was been 3 through.
Yeah, it was small, but
it was there. So it's been in 3 through 7 minus Rogue One.
Yeah.
So the possibilities, I just think it'd be interesting to keep Chewie just as long as you humanly can.
Oh, absolutely.
Because it's a great character and everybody can knows Chewie.
Even though you can definitely tell the change with stepping out and Eunice or Junus or whatever Jonas or whatever his name is, who stepped in and is playing the role now. You can tell there's slight differences with the mannerisms and stuff like that. And and that's okay. I mean, it's gonna happen. Unfortunately, that's what's gonna happen. But again, I think that you have to keep Chewie, and as long as the Falcon is there, you have to have Chewie. If they decide to move away from the Millennium Falcon come the next trilogy, that's what they decide to do, and
kill off Chewie.
Not kill him off, but let him fly off into the sunset with the Falcon.
And
maybe
his porgs.
he can show up another time, to save the day. Pull Han Solo, yeehaw, woohoo, whatever he says. Yeehaw was Lando, but. But I mean that's the way I look at it. You have to utilize your characters properly. You don't have to kill off every character. Unfortunately, they're gonna have to find a way to write off Leia in some way. Unfortunately,
yeah, you have to.
Are they gonna kill off Luke? I still say no. I still think Luke is gonna be here moving forward, and that's why I think they're gonna be able to continue the Skywalker storyline.
Even if they kill him off, Force Ghost.
Yeah, but Chewbacca, why kill off Chewbacca? Because you kill off Chewbacca, then who has a Millennium Falcon? Who does it fall to then? Does it then fall to Rey?
It would probably.
But why? Why all of a sudden, I know that she's a good pilot, but they've pretty much stated Poe Dameron's a better pilot.
It could fall to Lando.
It could, but not in the movie. So,
well, that could be a written off thing, and not necessarily an 8.
I just, the way, I look at it, you gotta keep Chewie, keep the Falcon, let him fly off into the sunset, and maybe in 6 movies from now, something happens, and all of a sudden, Chewbacca comes flying in with the Millennium Falcon. You're like, oh crap, that's Chewie! All excited, yeah.
Or this is going to be morbid, but you can give him his own standalone film. Sometime in the next trilogy, if they make a trilogy, something happens and you hear, Chewie's dead, or something it's not really said how, and then that's how you announce a Chewbacca standalone film.
Yeah, let's not kill him like they did in the expanded universe however many years ago. I'm sorry,
not with a giant moon.
Yeah, I prefer if a moon didn't smash one of the best characters.
That was awesome. That was part of my favorite Legends book series.
That's when the expanded universe got ridiculous. That's when they were like, we don't know what we're doing.
That was my favorite book series.
That's crazy.
That's actually how Ben Solo came to be. That's Ben Solo's story.
Ben Skywalker. Not Solo.
It was Solo. It was Solo in that series.
Wasn't it? It was Ben Skywalker.
Was it?
Yeah.
Whatever. Well, it's been years. It's been since like middle school. No joke.
Yeah.
I can't
So
find
remember, Luke, like, again, this was the big fight with The Force Awakens. Like, why would Leia and Han name their son Ben? Like, it doesn't make sense. Like, it makes sense for Luke to name his son Ben. It doesn't really make sense for Leia and Han to name their son Ben. So that's kind of where a lot of the
continuity errors.
not
continuity, but
like one of the poor writing choices by Abrams and Kasdan there. You know, like, it would have made more sense if it was. And who knows, you know, we still don't know for a fact, because we know in the books that Leia was pregnant with a child. How do we know that she doesn't have Rey and Luke had Kylo? And for some reason, you know, they flipped the kids for some reason. Like, who knows? Like, anything is possible. I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm not saying it's a good idea, so don't get all mad at me for saying that. But I'm just saying anything's possible at this point in time.
Yeah.
You know, so...
We don't know enough of The Last Jedi to say anything.
Yeah, not enough of The Last Jedi. We don't know enough between episode 6 and 7 to say anything. You know, we've only gotten snippets of everything.
Well, most of the books that have come out since...
Not most, but you had the Aftermath series.
Yeah, like most of them took place.
Lost Stars that touched on it a little bit.
I was kind of reading a summary online for that book after I bought it. I really can't wait to read that book.
What else is there? We have... Phasma, which is after, you know, you have not in First Order, Battlefront, the Battlefront 2 story mode takes place. But the thing with that is that's more immediately after Return of the Jedi.
Literally immediately after.
And it goes up to the Battle of Jakku, which is a little crazy in my mind. But yeah, you have that. I mean, there's things out there. But... when it comes to the main characters, you know, the Skywalkers, which is why I always say, look, the Star Wars always has to have the Skywalker family story going on. I don't care what anybody says. Yes, I understand. After 9 movies, yes, I guess in a way it'll feel kind of played out and small. But I'm sorry, like, that's what's been so interesting about the Skywalker saga is because, you know, you have, at this point now, 8 episodes, 8 movies that touch on the Skywalkers and how important they were to what has happened in this universe, you know, and it only makes sense that you continue that story going forward to create what universe is going to be created. And they've done a great thing with after Return of the Jedi. We know that Leia becomes a general and becomes part of the Senate and stuff like that within the New Republic. We know Han Solo goes off and tries to save Kashyyyk, which is a important storyline and aspects of the Aftermath series and the build of the New Republic. You know, what is Luke doing? We still don't know what he's doing, but
Luke's just chilling.
He's a myth. Like there's a book that came out. What is it called? I can't remember what it's called, but it's another book I want to get. There's so many Star Wars books I want to get to and read. I just have so limited time. But there's this book that came out where it's the stories of Luke Skywalker. And in them, they're just little snippets, little stories that people have, you know, kind of like playing telephone. Like, hey, did you hear Luke Skywalker did this? Hey, did you hear? And some of them are real. Some of them are false. It's the myth of Skywalker, of who he is. And he's been built up in the universe. You know, Rey in Episode 7 goes, Luke Skywalker, I thought he was a myth. You know, because people thought that, okay, this Jedi, this Luke Skywalker, he has to be a myth because, you know, it's kind of propaganda. Like,
everybody's built him up.
Built him up. Then you have, in Battlefront 2, you have the one character like, I know who you are, you know, you're Luke Skywalker, and, you know, you gave me, I've heard horror stories about you that kept me up and gave me nightmares as a child. And the Jedi and stuff like that. And, you know, that was the opposite. That's the First Order. That's the Empire. They're trying to scare people.
Anti-propaganda.
And exactly. And it's just crazy to think, like, there's so much that we don't know. And it's so important to continue this Skywalker trilogy and its saga, in my eyes. Like, I hate to say it, but, you know, George Lucas has been back and forth with this. We've heard multiple stories, you know, back and forth that said, oh, I had only planned 4 or 3 movies. Nope, I had 6. Nope, I had 9. Nope, I had 12. I've always...
No, he lost control of that.
Well, the one that I've always stuck to is 12. You know, I've always felt that he was telling the truth when he said he had an idea for up to 12 movies. You know, and even he told Mark Hamill that, you know, back in 76 when they were filming, you know, Star Wars. Do at least 12 with the Skywalker saga. At least 12. That they complete what George Lucas wanted in the 12. After that, if you need to get away from it, that's fine. But at that point, don't push the story forward. Go outward.
Yeah.
Build outward. Don't
Or
go
even
forward.
backwards.
Or backwards. You know, if you want to eventually, if you're going to move forward, I think that has to be the point in Lucasfilm and Disney's idea. If they want to go forward, you have to push the Skywalker films forward, saga forward, and then you can branch off of those.
Yeah.
That's the driving force of the saga, and where that stops is where your offshoots stop. Mm-hmm. Yeah, maybe you can hint and inch up a little bit, you know, like this is what's going on. But if you want to go towards the future of the galaxy and what's going on, you have to push the Skywalker saga forward. That's just me. I mean, I don't know. I know I've heard so many other podcasters and YouTubers say, like, no, enough with the Skywalkers, enough. We need something new. I agree. I want to see something new, but not forward. Branch out.
Exactly. Go back.
Make it bigger.
I'm a huge fan of, like, bring me a Coder movie.
Yeah,
like,
I mean, I get that. I get the excitement of the idea of a Knights of the Old Republic or an Old Republic set.
Yeah, like,
I'm all
give
for
me
that. And if you do that, I don't need to hear of Skywalker name.
Exactly. That can be the Chosen One myth.
Exactly. I wouldn't mind hearing the beginning of the Chosen One myth, but we don't need to hear Skywalker because you're not going to know it's a Skywalker. We don't know anything about Skywalker.
Yeah, at that point in time, you're fucking.
Yeah.
Hold on, I gotta do this. But you hear, like, you have Darth Nihilus, the Eater of Worlds. You have not Kylo, Darth Revan. You know, Darth Bane. You have all these notorious Sith at that time. That one's canon. The second one was almost canon.
Bane's canon.
Revan was almost canon. He was in a deleted scene, and Darth Nihilus should be canon.
Yeah, I mean, when you really think about everything, like, they need to move outward, not forward. At the very least, they need to move outward. Backward, I'm fine with, but outward is where I think that's where the money is going to be at for Lucasfilm at this point. Because
give us all the one-offs.
Well, I mean, you don't even need one-offs. I'm okay with moving outward and making trilogy. You know, making different trilogies of things. Like, allow the filmmakers to make their vision. If somebody comes up to them, if Guillermo del Toro comes up and he's like, "Hey, I got this idea for this trilogy."
Why'd you give him a southern accent?
I don't know.
You gave him a real southern accent.
But if he comes up, he's like, "Hey, I have an idea for this," you know, and he's like, "Look, I think it would be best suited for 2 movies, or I think it would be best suited for 4 movies, or 3 movies," whatever he says.
Yeah, here you go.
I think Lucasfilm should say, "All right, let's take a look. You know what? We like that idea. Can you shorten it at all? Can you make it a little longer at all?" And if he's like, "Look, this is what I think is the best for it," they should say, "Okay, get us how much a budget, get us what you think we need for it, and we'll talk again." He puts it all together. They come back. Boom, they make it and allow him to do his vision as long as it fits within the Star Wars universe. That's what they need to do with these directors at this point in time. Now, I get the Skywalker saga. That has to be a little tighter.
Yeah, that one has to.
That's when you bring in a director that's like, you know, Rian Johnson or J.J. Abrams, who's willing to work and mold what has been created by George Lucas and push it forward. But again, with these sides, these, you know, anthology films, you know,
you can throw anybody in. That's an experimental film.
Just let them have fun. Let the filmmakers
like Rogue One. Rogue One,
make film.
first war movie of Star Wars we had.
True, but Lucasfilm did get their hands in a lot of that, and I think it was because they were worried, they were scared, like, how are people going to take this?
Because that was the first one-off film we've had.
And then when you go back, when you talk about the Old Republic and stuff like that, I think that's also kind of dangerous territory because you have to make sure that there's going to be no continuity errors. You know, you can't say XYZ down here, but then say QRS up here.
Yeah.
You know, like, it has to match. It has
Which you could do that. But I think it would be more dangerous you're going into Legends territory, and a lot of people, if you do Legends no justice, will be super mad about that.
And that's that. I mean, I think they've been experimenting with that in Rebels.
Yeah.
You know, they brought Thrawn in. They brought Rook into the mix. You know, those are 2 characters from the expanded universe are now Legends that have been beloved in a certain form or fashion. You know, like, people love those characters. So I think bringing them in, I think they've done them justice. Rook, not so much, because he's only been on a couple episodes, and who knows how far they're going to take him since Rebels is almost over. But we know Thrawn at least survives past Rebels. Plus he has 2 books now. They're really building Thrawn up, and I believe they're going to have another book for Thrawn coming out. I think that Timothy Zahn is doing a full trilogy again for Thrawn.
He is.
And
I have it up on Amazon right now.
So, that's the way I look at it. Like, they've done justice with these, characters. Are we ever going to get Mara Jade? Because that's another beloved character. Yeah. And, she played a big role in the Thrawn series back in the early 90s. Will they bring her in some form or fashion and make her relevant in some way? Maybe.
Exactly. Like,
they can pull and pick. As long as they do the characters justice, I think fans will be happy. What they need to avoid doing is taking stories from there and confusing people.
Yeah.
Now, the interesting thing is here, with Thrawn being here, while the Thrawn trilogy of the early 90s doesn't exactly fit what has happened in the new canon, you can kind of take aspects of that story and still put it at the end of Return of the Jedi.
Yeah.
You still could. Luke meeting Mara Jade, him using the Salamari as for protecting him from the Force being used around him. Like, stuff like that could be used. And even something as crazy as cloning Luke Skywalker and calling him Luke Skywalker with 2 U's. Like, that's possible. Like, it could do it. I'm not saying that they should. But
I remember reading that.
But it's possible. There's story elements that they can pull from it. But that kind of goes against what I just said. They shouldn't do that. They should make their own stories, pull the characters out, and move forward from there.
As long as you do the characters justice, no one's going to complain.
Yeah, exactly.
I would. I'm a huge Legends fan.
Like, I would love to see another book or even a cartoon series on Wedge Antilles. Like,
that would be interesting.
That would be fun to watch. Like,
give it a nice 3-season series.
Rogue Squadron.
Yeah.
Do a show called Rogue Squadron and make it after the events of Empire Strikes Back. And between Empire and Jedi, past Jedi a little bit. Maybe up until the Empire is defeated. Just show Rogue Squadron and what they were doing and how they were succeeding and stuff. Like, that would be cool.
Yeah.
And having Wedge Antilles, that, like, come on. Like, I wouldn't love to see that. And that was a big book series. Rogue Squadron was a big book series. I know my buddy Jordan, he loved that series. Why not? Why not push that forward? I loved the games, the Rogue Squadron games, and Wedge was a big part of that. Why not? Like, that would be... And you could even have a little cameo of Luke Skywalker here and there. Because he was part of Rogue Squadron. So, be cool.
I'd be interested in a 501st series.
Yeah, my biggest complaint of Battlefront is that they sold you on the idea that it was going to be you or the Empire fighting the Rebellion, and
in reality,
you're the Empire for an hour, and then boom, you're part of the Rebellion. Why not do the 501st?
Like, the first Battlefront 2 did that, and I loved it. It did the different battles of Magneto. You shot and killed the Jedi. Like, it was changing the perspective. So whatever you saw in the movie, you were doing. Why not make that a series? Why not give it that would be a good TV series.
Well, one of my favorite Star Wars games was Republic Commando.
I always wanted to play it, never played it.
One of my favorite first-person shooters on the original Xbox. One of my favorite. It was so fun, and you played, I don't remember what battalion it was, but you were these troopers, and you were going on completing missions. Like, imagine, I gotta think of something. Like, think of Saving Private Ryan.
Yeah, but Star Wars.
But Star Wars, and you're the 501st. You're following the 501st, going on a rescue mission. Like, how cool would that be?
Like, exactly. That's what I would want.
Yeah. So, there's so much potential that they could do with this franchise. I just feel that, they gotta...
The title of the episode, Star Wars Talk. Listen to us, Disney.
But again, like, there's so much they could really do with this franchise. I just, like I said, I don't want them to get away from the Skywalkers. Like, leave the episodic films for Skywalker.
Yeah,
that's essentially what I'm saying.
Until you can't do it anymore.
If you ever want to do an episode 10, it's got to be about the Skywalker saga. 10, 11, 12, got to be about the Skywalker saga. If you want to do these other trilogies, like Rian Johnson's trilogy and stuff like that,
start at 1.
Do something else, off to the side,
Like Star Wars, The Old Republic, 1.
And here's the thing, when you start doing that, all right, because think of the Marvel Universe, all right, each movie is the title of their character, essentially.
Yeah, and then one or two.
Marvel Universe Episode 1, Iron Man. Marvel Universe Episode 2, Thor. Iron Man. Like, that's it's not Marvel Universe this. Like, at this point with Star Wars, like, this is why I was so upset with them naming the Han Solo film Solo, a Star Wars story. Like, personally, just call it Solo, I'm good. But the fact that you go Solo, a Star Wars
You're still
story,
banking on people, well, this generation doesn't know Star Wars, though.
Oh, but they do. That's
They don't, they,
But here's the thing.
you're giving them more credit.
Here's the thing. Don't build off the Star Wars name. At this point, make a damn good movie or a good saga
And people
in
watch.
the universe, and people are going to watch, and then what's going to happen is they're going to be like, well, that was really good. So you said when we were going here, this is part of the Star Wars universe? I'm like, yeah, it was.
And be like, nerd.
Well, there's 10 other movies, 12 other movies. Let's go watch them. You know, like, that's how you build the brand, because there are people out there who look at this name Star Wars and they're like, that's too nerdy for me. But if you just name a movie called The Old Republic, and that's it. It doesn't say The Old Star Wars, The Old Republic, or The Old Republic, a Star Wars story. If it's just called The Old Republic, people are like, that's kind of intriguing. And then you see
Lightsabers.
not even lightsabers, but you see, you know, blaster fire and like old, crazy looking worlds.
Yeah, and architecture.
Space and architecture. You know, people will be like, whoa, that looks pretty cool. Let's check it out. They go and watch it and they're like, whoa,
This is a Star Wars movie.
This is from the Star Wars. Like, this is pretty cool, you know? That's how I think they need to build the franchise and build out.
And then we can be hipsters and be like, we liked it before it was cool.
Yeah.
You called us nerds.
But again, I mean, that's just what I feel. I understand why they've done what they've done the first, 5 years now it's been that they've owned the franchise.
Yeah, you had to play it safe.
You have to play it safe. You have to make sure, look, we're going to be 3 movies in, 4 movies by May, 5 movies by December of 2019. 5 movies in, at that point, I think people know, okay, Star Wars is back.
And Disney has not screwed it up.
Yeah, Star Wars is back. Now let's branch out and just have fun. Let these film directors, these filmmakers who have loved Star Wars since they were kids, give these filmmakers who started got into the film business because of Star Wars, like Rian Johnson.
Yeah, and give them a film.
Let them do a film. Call up Kevin Smith and say, you know what? You're the Clerks guy. You like to do things behind a counter. You don't like to move the camera. Give us your version of a Star Wars movie. Give us something that you want, and get back to us and see what we think, and we'll see what we think. Let Kevin Smith come up with a crazy idea, something off the wall that could pull in a different graphic to seeing.
Bring in all the stoners. No.
Essentially, it could. Get these filmmakers who have loved Star Wars so much, and just let them do what they want to do. And if it's a hit, it's a hit. If it's a bust, it's a bust. But I tell you what, that $4 billion that they spent on Star Wars is going to be made back by Episode 9.
Yeah, completely. Like it's probably already halfway there now,
if not more.
Yeah.
I mean, they're to that point now where it's like, you know what? Let's take chances, because you never know. You may call up Kevin Smith and be like, "Hey, make us movie." And Kevin Smith makes Clerks Star Wars. Star Wars Clerks.
Yeah, that would be funny.
It's just people hanging out at Tashi Station. Selling power converters, and they're just, I'm not even supposed to be here today. And that's And then people love it. They're like, we want another one. And
then boom, you got a trilogy
out of something that sounds dumb, but it could be a great comedy, and something that's different. And that's what they need to do. Like, that's honestly, like, I get myself excited thinking about stuff like that. I just hope that Disney and Lucasfilm are willing to go that route, because you can give filmmakers and say, look, we're going to give you $100,000 or $100 million budget or a $50 million budget, something. Give them a small budget and say, what could you do with this?
Yeah, and challenge accepted.
Exactly. And there's going to be filmmakers that want that challenge. And
hand it here.
And you could potentially get some gold out of it.
Hand it here. I'll do justice to anything you want to throw at me. You
don't have to go and spend $100 million, $200 million, $300 million all the time to make movies, and then hope that you make $600 million.
Yeah, to double it.
To make a profit. Make a Star Wars is an entity that
it's guaranteed almost $1 billion every release.
Exactly. So you go make a movie for $500,000. You go make a movie for $500,000,
and you make $1 billion.
And you make $1 billion. Damn. Go make a movie for $50 million, even a little more. Guess what? You're gonna make.
You've made 20% of your money back.
So.
Or 200% of your money back.
That's just the way I look at it. I mean, I could go on forever with this, but we'll probably stop here because, woo, yeah.
You went on a rant for almost 40 minutes.
Yeah, I do that sometimes.
Well, we'll pause you for today. You got anything else you want to talk about?
No, just
you feel like you got it all off your chest.
Yeah. Make sure you check out this past episode of TRC that came out this past week or a couple days ago, because we really get into some things that are pretty important. The first thing we talked about was net neutrality and how important it is in being podcasters and people who use the internet and stuff like that quite often. It's a pretty important thing. So look up, net neutrality, what it means, and contact your local senators, governors, and government. Just contact your government officials and be like, hey, cut that crap out. And then we also talked a good bit about critics and how they could be hurting the movie industry. It's pretty interesting, especially with everything that came out with Justice League lately and stuff like that. So check that out. Let us know what you think about that. Most importantly, do not forget to follow us, like us, subscribe to us, all that fun stuff so you can get entered in to win that awesome Leia on a speeder figurine, pop figure, what is it?
GameStop Funko pop figure.
Yeah, that thing. So make sure you do all that so you can win that. And if you're in the Pittsburgh area, we will be going to cons over the next few months. And
yeah, starting January, we're probably gonna be hitting that hard.
We're going to be at Cinemark in Robinson Township or North Fayette or whatever it's called up there. I think it's Robinson. It's in Robinson Township. It's called the Cinemark Movie Theater, which is a big theater. We will be there on December 14th for the premiere. We will probably be getting there sometime around noon or later to hang out, talk to all the Star Wars fans and stuff like that. So
you'll see me before my fourth coffee of the day.
So if you're there, the only thing I ask is don't bother us while we go over to Qdoba and eat, because I have a hankering for Qdoba. It's kind of my yearly ritual now with me and Jordan. We get together right before Star Wars. We go eat Qdoba and then we hang out and talk to Star Wars fans. So it's a Mexican restaurant.
Okay.
Yeah.
As long as it's not Chinese.
No, it's not Chinese. It's Mexican.
Oh, I'm fine with that.
So it's like Chipotle, but different.
See, this is my first time with you guys.
Yeah. So Colton will be joining us for the first time, and so the past 2 years, my buddy Jordan and I had a lot of fun. So you can come meet us. We're gonna sit there and talk Star Wars, maybe have some trivia, stuff like that. So
maybe giving some stuff away.
Yeah, maybe if we have some stuff to give away, we'll give it away.
Yeah, who knows?
So yeah, that's all I got.
All right, well, it's been real, guys. It's been real. I've been your host, Colton.
I've been Robert from TRC.
And this has been Star Wars Talk. May the Force be with you.
Hello there. Come here, my little friend. Don't be afraid.
Away with your weapon. I mean you no harm.
Kill him. Kill him now. Do it.
You failed your Highness. I am a Jedi, like my father before me.